Hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Uh, Path of Exile 2 is back with a huge gargantuan update. We had no new content pretty much for what, 3.5, like maybe four, almost 4 months now. But GG is back and it delivers. In this patch, there's massive amount of changes, many changes that previously many aspects of the game that people complain about. For example, like towers. Many things are just improved or completely redesigned. We have new class, new ascendancies, character system improvements, endgame improvements, new endgame content, and there is a lot. Honestly, I'm surprised how much GG was able to do in a span of what, like, we had Christmas also, and in the meantime they were doing some smaller updates. So it's been like 3 months, and they did pretty much what you would call pretty much the entire expansion worth of content. Absolutely gargantuan amount of content. So in this video, I'm going to talk about hopefully pretty quickly 10-15 minutes, because my videos tend to be very long usually. Hopefully pretty quickly I'm going to go over the most important changes, and that's it. Let's jump into it. So first up we have Huntress, a new class coming in the 0.2 expansion. You could call it an expansion, I guess. Huntress is a character that's going to, I believe, is strength and dexterity when it comes to attributes. It's going to combine the melee fighting and rage fighting at the same time. Huntress has a variety of different skills. I do believe that they added about 20 something new skills to the game, and the vast majority of them are going to be Huntress skills. She has a mechanic, as you can see on the screen right now, like parry, which basically is similar to block, but it's actually a better block, because parry will make you take no damage, but at the same time the enemy will receive a debuff that your next attack will make them take more damage. And similarly to block, if you parry for too long, too many, if you try to like parry like too many attacks in a row, you will, there's like a stagger meter that goes up. If you go over that stagger meter, you will get stunned and most likely die, because stuns are very long. So you have to be careful with that. Huntress is has variety of melee and range skills. So it seems like she should be able to fight in both melee and as a range character. The developers mentioned that it was definitely a tough task to try to make a character that will be able to combine both of these archetypes, because usually the characters, you want to go into just one direction. If you want to make a melee character, you just want to go only melee, and vice versa. The same for range characters, for example, bow characters, like range characters and stuff like that. So this is going to be interesting if it's going to work out. Huntress has many abilities. I do believe that she will be able to utilize all elements and at the same time bleed abilities, as you can see over here on the screen right now. So it's going to be very interesting what, generally speaking, you will be able to do. Also, they announced 2 new Ascendancies for her. But I don't want to go over these new Ascendancies in this video. I'm going to talk about the new revealed Ascendancies in the next video. Enough to say they're very interesting. So I'm definitely excited to see what these Ascendancies will offer in the not only endgame, but from what I've seen, mostly I think that they're going to be very interesting endgame options. But we'll talk about that in the next video. I'm going to very quickly go over the ascendancies for other classes. Perhaps as I'm known to be like a melee player. There is a new class for a warrior, which is I forgot his name. He's going to be like a blacksmith or something like this, basically blacksmith of Kitava, something like that. More or less, I would say that from what I've seen, this character is going to be very strong defensively. He has abilities that allow you to basically 50% of your resistance, of your fire resistance that you get, will also apply to cold and lightning resistances. So it's going to be very easy with this character to basically reach maximum resistances very easily. You just stack fire resistance, and then you get lightning and cold resistances at the same time. On top of that, he will be able to make his maximum fire resistance also his maximum cold and lightning resistances, which means that it's going to be a very easy, really easy job to get 90 all res on this character, which possibly will make him very, very tanky. Also, he has this ability over here, which you can see on the screen, which will allow him to imbue his body armor. So basically how it works is that this passive, this ascendancy point, will cost nothing. And what it does is that you will have to you will have to use a white armor and normal armor, but this armor will be able to imbue it with different powerful modifiers. We're going to go over this in the next video. Next, we have what I call it champion from PoE 1. It's not quite a champion from PoE 1, but this character, I've noticed that I think it's going to be more suited towards group play, I think. He has many ascendancy points that will give his companions, the people that are in party, additional boosts. But also he has some very interesting skills, for example, like 50% less reservation of persistent buffs, which is quite insane for 2-pointer. So it's going to be interesting, not necessarily something I would play, but yeah. And next up we have Lich. Lich basically has abilities that give her a boost to her curses that she uses. He has this one ability that makes a single jewel that she is going to use have double the power, so that's interesting. Also, she has a different abilities that manipulate the life and energy shield in a way that, for example, some of the damage that you take will be taken from life, but then the next note is that as long as you have, and you know, give her additional modifiers and additional boosts, but then the next note is that as long as you have energy shield, you cannot lose life, which is very interesting for some combinations, like for example at Series Disdain. She also has abilities that give her additional damage boosts based on how much mana she has. So for example, an ability that gives her the chaos damage for every 100. She's gonna get 30% of damage as chaos damage, and for every 100 mana that she has, this effect increases by 4%. So overall, this is going to be very strong and a very interesting character to build around. Not for me necessarily, because you know me, guys, I play melee, but yeah, the Ascendancies that they released definitely look very interesting. Next up, I'm going to talk about this very shortly because we do not have the details yet. We have no patch notes. They added about 100, I think 100 plus support gems, which is an absolutely like mind-blowing amount. And as I mentioned, like I think 25 new skills. New active gems. These active gems will mostly be used by the new class, the Huntress, but with the amount of support gems that they added, like everyone is going to find something interesting. Absolutely insane, mind-blowingly huge amount of supports, and I'm sure that many new builds will emerge from all these supports. I even saw something interesting so far, something like Molten Strike basically from PoE 1, that every time you hit or I believe ignite something, like the molten balls spawn from this point and hit the enemies. Very interesting, especially with this new class like Blacksmith or Kitava or whatever his name is. It's going to be very interesting to build some new, basically to find new archetypes, right? Something that might be very interesting, as you just saw right now, there was still this AoE that Cultist Greyhammer uses whenever you, like, you know, basically the Mace Strike attack, I think is still going to be in the game. I don't think they removed it, maybe they nerfed it, but I think it's still going to be possible to use it. I'm very excited for that. Next up we have unique items, and they added absolutely gargantuan amount of unique items. Like, I don't know, if you want comparison, for example, on the release of Diablo 4, we had 30 unique items in the game. Only in this patch, GG adds 100 uniques. And they said that most of them are going to basically like work for mid and to end game characters. So they're not going to be like early game unique items that will give you like 20 life and 10 movement speed boots or something like this. No, Most of them will work for mid or end game characters, so we can expect that some of them will be very powerful. Like for example, you saw over here a little bit before a very interesting looking shield that gives you 1% of damage as fire damage per 1% block chance. It's not going to be easy to get to maximum block chance, 75% block chance on a shield like this, unless you're a Warbringer. Maybe if you're playing Captain Poland, maybe it's going to be easier. But I mean, this is an absolutely gargantuan amount of damage, and on top of that, this shield provides very nice amount of resistances. So definitely something you could build around right off the bat. And yeah, and looking up all these unique items is going to be very interesting. I bet that there's some build defining options that will be basically like, you know, endgame powerhouses, and I'm really excited to see what that they will be. I do believe that the GG said that they will not like release the list of them, like all of them, maybe some of them in teasers, but for the most part they will not release them because they want players to just find out what these are. And yeah, maybe we're going to have some leaks, but here, for example, you saw like Mark of the Council, I believe this is its name from PoE1. I'm not sure, but yeah, very, very interesting. Very excited to see what these unique items are going to be. Next up, we have the new maps. They added new map layouts. Some of them might look very familiar to like the map layouts from PoE1. For example, the Wildwood Wisp kind of map. We don't necessarily know if the layouts are going to be good or not, depending on also what you mean by a good layout, because I bet that out of a million PoE2 players, there was at least one player that liked to run the Mire map. At least one, right? Maybe. But when it comes to new maps, you know, they look very good. I think that the graphically, once again, the GG's is up there. It's really hard to like, you know, find like flaws of these maps. There's new encounters, like for example here, that you fight bosses like one by one by one by one, and every boss you kill, then as you can see, you fight two at the same time. The encounter gets harder and harder over time, and every time you beat the boss, the next encounter is going to be harder with like more modifiers and stuff, and then you will get some extra rewards like you saw on the screen right there, like greater runes, so special types of runes. Here, for example, you see a map that looks like the map from PoE1, basically Calandra Lake. That was like League 3.19, I believe, or something like this. That looks, I have to say, really cool. You know, as you walk in, like these you know, whatever these things like stones pop out of the ground or out of the water, and you can just walk on them, and that's how you progress this map. Very interesting. Here you can see also that they added from PoE1 stuff like, you know, simplex amulets, basically stuff like, for example, an amulet that will have 5 suffixes and 1 prefix and vice versa. Very interesting stuff. Additionally, more special zones, like for example here, where you're going to fight a essence boss. And I believe the more essences you unlock, the harder this boss is going to get, and the more essences you will be able to acquire after beating it. Honestly, very interesting stuff, and I'm very excited because what we kind of lacked before is, you know, the variety. The end game looked very repetitive, and they definitely took that to heart. And like the amount of content they added when it comes to this is absolutely massive. So kudos to GG for doing that. Another thing that they added from PoE1 is Rogue Exiles, and this is going to be very interesting because Rogue Exiles basically is like, you know, a bunch of enemies that will randomly appear in the maps, and these guys are basically us. What I mean by that is like they use our abilities, they basically have similar equipment, they have like certain amount of stats that they're gonna have and stuff like that, and you can beat them and gain very nice rewards. For example, this Rogue Exile that you can see on the screen right now uses 2 unique items, and on killing the opponent, you will be able to get these unique items yourself, right? Basically, that's how it works. These encounters, for the most part, from what I understand, will be relatively difficult. But you know, a cool animation here as Rogue Exile, after killing you, goes to the city or whatever, or back to the hideout. Very cool. These encounters will be relatively difficult, but you know, I'm assuming that the more difficult ones will appear in higher tier maps, which makes perfect sense, right? Because there's going to be like some challenge to what you will be doing, but also more rewards. And the maps definitely will not feel as repetitive as they were before, because occasionally you're going to find something cool like this. So to me, the more different stuff they add to the maps, the better. Definitely the PoE2 needs stuff like that right now, because you can't really accuse PoE2 of having bloat nowhere near. It has a bloat that's nowhere near PoE1, so adding more content, stuff like that, will definitely make the end game more interesting. Next up, we have strong boxes. I do not know, I don't remember them saying anything if they made strong boxes like more, how to put it, like more tolerable. I know that the strong boxes received one patch, still nobody opens them up because it's just not worth it. I think they probably did some changes when it comes to that, but also they added unique strong boxes. Like for example, this one that you revive the same rare monster X amount of times, and every time it's revived, it has more modifiers and more rewards. Very interesting. In endgame, on a juiced map with certain amount of modifiers, I'm assuming that this could be actually very difficult but very rewarding at certain point. Here, for example, like a blacksmith strongbox, unique blacksmith strongbox that guarded by aberrations of chaos. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it was guarded by 31 packs of monsters. So interesting stuff like that definitely will make the end game more interesting. Next up, a very important change. We have changed endgame and towers in the game. So towers have been drastically changed. The amount of towers on average has been reduced to 1/3 of what we had. So 66% decrease. And the towers will still, functionality is going to be the same, but the increased the number of influence maps is going to increase as you progress further into the Atlas. And now the tablets are going to cover like way bigger area to compensate for the lower amount of towers. And these tablets will also affect a way bigger amount of maps. As you will be able to see, like pretty much this one tablet will mean that the entire area will be covered in breaches, which is fantastic change, because I know that many people were complaining that the towers are I don't want to say redundant, but like very tedious to do, which I 100% agree with. Now it's going to feel much better. Also, as you progress through the maps affected by the tower, you will unlock more slots, so you will be able to further juice your maps. So yeah, absolutely fantastic changes, because now you will not have to like navigate around the tower to like towers to like get the certain amount of towers in range in order to juice. Like basically how it worked before, you would need to spend 2 hours to set up your atlas properly, and then spend 1 hour farming the remaining maps that you had there. So previously it wasn't very fun. These changes will massively increase, at least in my opinion, massively increase the fun and reduce the redundancy, if that's even a word, of like having to like navigate around and like setting up your towers. Absolutely fantastic changes. So I definitely love GG for doing that. So these are, for the most part, the most important changes. I said that I want to finish the video in 10-15 minutes. I'm pretty sure I already failed that. So there's still some other changes, like for example changes to the portals. Now you will be able to do your map even if you die, if the map didn't have like a lot of modifiers. The more modifiers the map will have, the less amount of portals attempts you will have at this map. So for example, a map with like 6 modifiers or something will only have 1 portal. This is basically to encourage a strategy, a situation where you only have 1 attempt at a very, very rewarding map, right? I'm assuming the map modifiers probably changed as well, but we'll see how this is going to be. From here, it's hard to really tell, but I'm assuming that map modifiers, for example, like penetration, will not be in the game anymore, or they'll be like heavily nerfed because they're just way overpowered. But we'll see how this is going to be. Some other changes, for example, like more crafting options. We're gonna have recombinators. We're gonna have fracturing orbs from PoE1. So basically, for those of you that don't know what that means, fracturing orbs is basically an orb that you put in an item, and the item needs to have at least 4 modifiers, and the random modifier will just stay on this item forever. So you have like a weapon, for example, with 2 really good modifiers, like 2 high physical damage modifiers and 2 completely useless ones. And you use fracturing orb in there, and you just hope that you're gonna get that the fracture is going to hit the very high physical damage modifier, and from there you can craft the item. Also, we're gonna have recombination, which is the mechanic from PoE1 once again, that allows you to combine 2 different items from the same category. So, for example, two body armors or 2 weapons, two maces or something like that, and basically try to get the best modifiers from both of these items at the same time, like combine these 2. And I do believe that the more modifiers you're going to choose, the lower the chance is going to be to get all the required all the modifiers that you're gonna choose, right? There's many other changes because this presentation was like 40 minutes, and it's hard to go over everything. But for the most part, that's it. When it comes to other changes and also stuff like Ascendancies and like more detailed info, I'll be uploading more videos in upcoming days. Definitely the next video I want to do is a video where I'm going to talk about Ascendancies in depth. It's going to be like video probably tomorrow in 2 days. And the next one, I want to go over the class I'm going to be playing and build I'm going to be playing next league. And also some other changes. For example, I do believe that we're going to have patch notes. They said next week, so I'm assuming probably Monday, Tuesday. So I'm definitely going to make a video about all the changes and, you know, what I think about them, what you can expect in the patch 0.2 overall, so that nobody will have to go to this patch blind, completely blind. Because as I mentioned before, the amount of changes is like completely gargantuan. It's massive. This feels like, you know, like like new expansion and half, and still some after that. So Endgame is going to look completely different, and I think the game is going to, for the most part, look pretty much different. So yeah, very excited to see the patch notes and the future, what GG is going to be cooking for us. That's going to be it for today. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and see you next time.